When fixing the electrical fault, the EOD expert froze. The electrician was cutting wires with such precision and caution that this wasn't civilian training. This was bomb disposal technique. Welcome to Delta Files. Before we dive into this powerful story of hidden expertise, dangerous skills, and unexpected heroism, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today, and if you believe stories like this need to be remembered, hit that subscribe button. Pacific Electronics was a mid-sized tech company in San Diego, California. 300 employees, modern office building, and the kind of workplace where people felt safe and secure. When electrical problems started occurring throughout the building, they called the most reliable electrician in the area. Jim Patterson had been running his electrical contracting business for 8 years. Quiet, methodical, and known for solving problems that stumped other electricians. His rates were fair, his work was flawless, and he never caused disruptions during business hours. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos was on terminal leave from the Army, finishing her final month before retirement. 20 years as an explosive ordnance disposal specialist, she defused bombs in Iraq, Afghanistan, and classified locations she could never discuss. Now she was transitioning to civilian life, working temporary security consulting for Pacific Electronics. The electrical problems started small. Flickering lights, power surges, intermittent equipment failures, standard issues for a building with aging electrical infrastructure. Management called Jim Patterson to diagnose and repair the problems. Maria was in the break room when Jim arrived to examine the main electrical panel. Professional curiosity made her watch him work. 20 years of EOD training had taught her to observe how people approach potentially dangerous electrical systems. What she saw made her blood run cold. Jim wasn't approaching the electrical panel like a civilian electrician. He was treating it like an explosive device. His body positioning was textbook EOD. Minimal exposure, maximum protection, escape route planned. He examined each wire with the kind of methodical precision that belonged in bomb disposal, not electrical repair. When Jim began cutting wires, Maria's training screamed warnings. His technique was perfect military protocol. Wire cutters positioned at exact angles, cuts made in specific sequences, constant visual confirmation before each action. No civilian electrician worked this way. Maria approached casually. "Complicated repair?" she asked. Jim looked up briefly. "Just being careful. Electrical systems can be unpredictable." But Maria knew the difference between caution and combat-trained paranoia. "Mind if I watch? I'm fascinated by technical work." Jim shrugged and continued working. Maria observed his every movement with professional attention. Jim's tool selection was suspicious. Standard electrical tools, but arranged and used with military precision. His breathing was controlled, like someone managing stress in high-danger situations. Most telling, he was documenting each step with photographs, standard EOD protocol for post-incident analysis. "You're very thorough," Maria commented. "Experience teaches you to be careful." "What kind of experience?" Jim paused for just a moment before answering. 25 years of electrical work. You learn not to take shortcuts. But Maria's EOD training caught the hesitation. Jim was lying about something. When Jim finished the repair, Maria made a decision that would change both their lives. "Jim, can I ask you something? That technique you just used, where did you learn it?" Jim's expression became guarded. "What do you mean?" "The way you approach that panel. Wire cutting sequence, tool positioning, documentation protocol. That's not civilian electrical training." Jim studied Maria's face carefully. "You seem to know a lot about electrical work for a security consultant." "I know a lot about explosive devices, 20 years Army EOD." The air between them shifted. Jim's casual demeanor disappeared, replaced by the alert posture Maria recognized in fellow combat veterans. "EOD?" Jim asked quietly. "Staff Sergeant Santos, retiring next month. And you're not just an electrician." Jim was quiet for a long moment, then made a decision. "Master Sergeant Jim Patterson, retired. Army EOD, 1998 to 2018. Maria's mind raced. 20 years EOD service. Jim was one of the most experienced bomb disposal experts in the military. Why electrical work? Because the skills transfer. Understanding electrical systems, working under pressure, precise tool work. Plus, Jim gestured around the office building. Most people don't know that former EOD specialists make excellent electricians. But you're treating routine electrical work like bomb disposal. Jim's expression grew serious. Because sometimes it is. Maria didn't understand. "What do you mean?" Jim pulled out his phone and showed Maria photographs from his recent electrical repairs around San Diego. 3 buildings in the past 6 months. All called for routine electrical problems. All had suspicious modifications to their electrical systems. Maria examined the photos. What she saw made her stomach drop. These aren't electrical faults. These are improvised devices. Exactly. Someone's been installing explosive devices disguised as electrical malfunctions. Why didn't you call the police? I did. They said I was being paranoid. Former military seeing threats everywhere. Maria understood. Law enforcement often dismissed veteran concerns as PTSD-related hypervigilance. But you kept investigating. I kept accepting electrical calls, and I kept finding devices. Jim showed Maria a detailed map of San Diego with marked locations. 7 buildings, all with the same modifications, all targeting tech companies or defense contractors. Maria realized they were dealing with a coordinated terrorist operation using electrical systems as delivery methods for explosive devices. Jim, this is domestic terrorism. We need to contact federal authorities. With what evidence? I've been removing and disabling devices for months. No one believes in electricians' suspicions. They'll believe an EOD specialist's technical analysis. Together, Maria and Jim contacted the FBI's Domestic Terrorism Task Force. Their combined 20-year EOD experience and detailed documentation convinced federal agents to investigate. The operation they uncovered was extensive. A domestic terrorism cell had been installing explosive devices and electrical systems across San Diego, targeting companies involved in military contracts. The devices were designed to activate during high-occupancy periods, potentially killing hundreds. Jim's electrical contracting business had inadvertently been the only thing preventing a massive terrorist attack. How many devices did you disable? The FBI asked. 11 confirmed. 3 others I suspected but couldn't access without raising suspicions. The FBI investigation led to arrests of a 6-person domestic terrorism cell and prevention of what would have been one of the deadliest domestic attacks in California history. Jim continued his electrical business, but now worked officially with federal authorities to identify suspicious electrical modifications. His unique background made him invaluable for detecting explosive devices disguised as electrical problems. Maria postponed her retirement and joined the FBI's Domestic Terrorism Task Force, specializing in explosive device identification and former military recruitment of domestic terrorists. You know, Maria told Jim months later, most electricians would have missed those modifications entirely. Jim smiled. Most electricians never learn to think like people who want to kill other people. Sometimes paranoia is just good training. Now I ask you, have you ever met someone whose skills seemed too advanced for their apparent profession? Someone whose attention to detail suggested training you couldn't quite identify? Share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes the most important protection comes from those who continue serving in ways we never recognize. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe, share, and help us honor those who use their military training to keep civilians safe in ways we might never know.